Hello and welcome to The Night Feed. I'm your host, Charlotte, here to bring you some comfort, camaraderie and conversation and keep you company during, let's face it, one of the toughest parts of being a new parent, the night feed. Tonight's unpaid sponsor is being pregnant and sleeping next to two kids. Wow. With those first babies, we don't know ourselves, do we, when we're sleeping at night? And we have to get up for a wee quite often. And, we're anticipating what it's going to be like when we're waking with the baby. And we're, just waking because our bodies start to wake with your first baby, don't they, to kind of get you into that rhythm. Oh, no. Now, when there's two babies involved as well, it's just a different kettle of fish. This will be my third baby. For any new listeners that out there, I have an almost 4-year-old and a 2.5-year-old. And at the moment, most nights, they're both in the bed with us. Luckily, we've got a very big bed, thankfully. That was a choice we made when we realised that co-sleeping was going to be a thing in our family. We decided to get the big bed. However, we're still getting kicked in the face. And I am more concerned now about my tummy getting kicked and waking up with pins and needles, waking up in a funny position. And part of me absolutely loves having the two of them snuggled up because they really snuggle in. And I think it's so lovely when you wake up and you see them wake up and they're next to you. And there's something really cozy about all just being together in the bed. The flip side is my sleep has gone down the pan at the moment. And I actually, do you know what? I need your help, really. If there's anyone out there listening that has been through this or is going through this, or if there are any sleep experts that have some advice, I would love to hear it. Because just to give you some background, because I breastfed, I naturally drifted into co-sleeping. With our first, we did try to get back in the cot after every feed, and we were quite disciplined with that, but it gradually moved to co-sleeping. And when my second was born, my eldest got into this amazing sleep routine. Like the penny just dropped and she was in her own room. She'd sleep through. She'd have no issues at bedtime. My youngest has never really got into that rhythm. She goes down on me and then I transition her into the cot. And she will go for the evening, don't get me wrong. But then come between 11 and 1, she wakes and I just put her in with us. I've always just put her in with us because I'd rather do that than have the battle of getting her back into the cot for her to maybe wake again. And when she gets in with us, she just goes straight back off. So I get my sleep, she gets her sleep, Jason gets his sleep. It kind of works. Now, about 6 months ago, we put our eldest into a big girl bed. And I remember Jason being like, are you sure you want to do that? Because she was in a cot and that cot's a big one, so it was fine. But my concern was that in the night, if she wanted to get up, she could climb out and potentially fall and hurt herself. So I just thought, yeah, she's 3 now, big bed, and it's safer in that aspect. But she loves a little sneak in the night now. And it's sometimes between maybe 1 and 2. And other times, don't get me wrong, it's like 6, which is the morning kind of anyway, isn't it? Well, for us parents it is. But yeah, she's also sneaking in. And I think before I got pregnant, it was fine. I didn't mind. I actually loved having them in the bed with us. And, it's a stage. And I know it's a season that doesn't last forever. And like I said earlier, there's something so lovely about having them all tucked in next to you. But now I'm pregnant, I'm very conscious of my position in the night and how I sleep. And I know once you hit 20 weeks, you're not meant to be on your back and your limbs are all adjusting, aren't they? And your muscles kind of, what's the word? I know that they loosen a bit, don't they? Because obviously your pelvis has to loosen. And I do feel myself sometimes when I wake up, I'm a bit like jarred or in a funny position. So I need some help with what to do. I don't want to get to the point when the baby arrives and then be like, right, in your own room, you're not coming in our bed anymore. The baby's here now. Because I just don't think that is a nice way of doing it. I want to transition so that they get used to it, and that when the baby's here, they're already used to sleeping in their own room. They're already comfortable with that. They're fine. Because the baby's going to be in next to me, next to us, obviously. But it still would concern me having toddlers in the bed with a brand new baby. Now, when the baby's a bit bigger and is a toddler, then maybe there'll be 5 in the bed. Who knows? But in those first few months when the baby is so tiny, I'm very conscious of that. And I just need to come up with a plan that makes the sleep easier at night and encourages them to stay in their own bed. So if you have some advice, I would love to hear it. Email me, thenightfeedpodcast@gmail.com. Now, I don't know about you, but I am well and truly in Christmas indulge mode. I'm sat recording this, eating the majority of a Terry's chocolate orange, which my poor 2-year-old was gifted at a Christmas party this morning. And she managed to open it at the back of the car. I didn't know she knew where it was. So I gave it to her in the back of the car. She's driving home. It's only a 5-minute drive home. And she's like, my bauble, my bauble. I said, oh, yes, it's just a bauble. Anyway, halfway home, I heard the wrapper. I'm thinking, oh, gosh. And there she was, chiseling away at a full Terry's chocolate orange. I rescued it. No, I did give her some, but yeah, it was just too appealing. And once you have one of those segments, that's it, isn't it? You can't stop. And I'm just in such a Christmas hibernation eat mode. And in my head, I'm like, oh, you're pregnant, you're eating for 2. Don't worry, And I know that's not the case, is it? Because when I was pregnant with my other 2, I didn't really follow that eating for 2 thing. I just ate when I was hungry and when I needed to eat, and I made sure that I got all the nutrients that I needed. Now I'm just like, oh, it's Christmas. Eat what you want. Do what you want. So I need to be careful because I was really active with my other 2. I used to go on walks a lot just to try and stay fit and healthy. And I feel like when it's the build up to Christmas, I just give myself so many excuses like, oh, well, it's cold, it's raining. Oh, it's Christmas. Just, eat the good food. And you know what? We all deserve a treat. Don't get me wrong. But yeah, I'm well and truly in the throes of indulging at the moment. Now, I've had a few emails this week, actually, which I'm going to come to now. So first up is the title of the email is Nighttime Dread. And it says, hey, I've just started listening to your podcast and I thought I'd write in about something I've experienced since postpartum. I'm 2.5 months postpartum. My baby loves to co-sleep. I was convinced I didn't want to, but it's the only way I can also get some sleep. Hallelujah. I'm with you. He got really bad at sleeping in his next to me at about 6 weeks old. Turns out he was learning to smile. But since then, putting him in his next to me at night is almost impossible. Been there too. I'm exclusively breastfeeding, so my partner isn't much help at night, although he doesn't hear the baby wake anyway. We start to head to bed at around 9 p.m, so by 10 everyone can be fed, changed and hopefully asleep, unless he's cluster feeding, but that's another story. By about 8 p.m. each night, I get this awful feeling of doom and dread about the night ahead. I just know that I'm probably going to get no more than 6 hours of broken sleep, and that I'm going to be alone while doing everything. I'm wondering if anyone else experiences this and how I can help myself to feel better about night times. Thank you. I think this is completely normal. I don't think you are experiencing anything out there or wild. I know the feeling. I too was in your boat where I exclusively breastfed and we swayed towards co-sleeping, obviously, when I just realised that's easier because my baby was waking often as well. And I do remember that feeling of an evening like, oh my gosh, that night we've got ahead, if it's anything like last night, I'm going to be exhausted and I'm going to be knackered. And when you are exclusively breastfeeding, like you said, even though your partner's lying next to you and you could probably wake them and say, hey, just give me a hand a minute, you just kind of get on with it yourself, don't you? Because you feed them, you maybe change them, and whilst your partner, I'm sure, would help. Like my partner, if I ever woke him, he'd be like, yeah, what do you need me to do? No problem. But part of me was always like, well, I can just do it myself. I'm breastfeeding. Why disturb them? And yes, that can be lonely. That can be lonely, that feeling of you've got this little precious baby and it's all on you through the night to keep them fed, to win them if they need it, to change them if they need it, to get them back to sleep, which is hard enough. And I think we forget that for the past 9 months, they've been in our womb, they've been next to us, on us, hearing our heartbeat. And then all of a sudden, we want them to sleep in a bed, which, albeit they're next to me, they're close, but still, it's completely alien to them. And I think so many babies just want to be held. And that can make it even more tricky because we know the dangers of that. And there's so much we have to think about. And I remember being terrified of falling asleep breastfeeding with my first. I think with my second, I got a little more confident because I've been through it before. And I was like, it's okay. You get in your system, you get in the swing of it. But with my first, I would be so scared because I'd feel my head dropping as she was feeding, and I'd make myself watch things on my phone or my iPad, and I'd do everything to keep myself awake. And I think with that brings that dread of like, oh my gosh, you're going to be up feeding now. You're going to be pretty much up on your own. It's all on you. And I think it's completely normal to have that feeling. And I'm sorry that you're feeling that because it isn't nice. And it's not because you hate it or you don't want to do it or anything like that. It's completely natural when you know you're going to bed, but you're not really going to bed, are you? You know, you're going to bed and getting an hour here, maybe 2 hours there, maybe 3 hours there if you're lucky when they're that young. And the tiredness is going to add to that. The tiredness is going to make you feel low. It's going to make you feel down. And it's completely, completely normal. All I will say to you is it really, really gets better. It does. If you're at let me just see where you are, 2.5 months postpartum. So you're still super, super fresh in those early weeks, really. You're only 10 weeks in with this baby. It is very early days. But I would say you will start to get into a bit of a swing of things. It sounds like you've got a great routine, bed at 9, everyone down by 10. And it sounds like that works for you. It's just, like I said, it's on your shoulders, isn't it? And that can feel daunting. And I think that's where the nighttime dread comes from. So don't feel like you're alone. Don't feel like the only person experiencing this. Most of us, I would imagine, have been there when we get that feeling of like, oh my goodness, it's almost like an overwhelming feeling, I think. Especially, I remember the very first few nights at home and transitioning to that level of no sleep is one of the hardest things you do as a parent, I think. And even though everyone says, oh, the sleep's going to be really difficult, you don't really take it on board. And I never really thought it was going to be as hard in them first few weeks with the constant waking. But you get through it. And before you know it, you almost forget. Like now, I have a 2.5-year-old and an almost 4-year-old. That constant waking, it seems so alien to me right now. That constant up every hour, feed, rock back to sleep, get them back to sleep, only for them to wake again in 2 hours or an hour. And I know I'll be back there within the next 5 months. So it's not going to feel that alien again. But I just want to reassure you that it's completely normal what you're feeling, and it's not a bad reflection on you. It's not anything to worry about, I don't think. I think you're just getting through these early months, and once you're past the 4, 5, 6 month mark, they're eating more, your baby will be weaning, and I personally think that helps with their sleep as well. So don't be hard on yourself. Don't worry. It's a normal feeling, and it honestly gets better. Next email is, please tell me this is normal. My 4-month-old baby still wakes 2 to 3 times during the night. Christmas is almost around the corner and our family is meeting our baby for the first time. It seems to be that the first question everyone wants to ask is, are they sleeping through yet? And the answer is no. She's still waking 2 to 3 times a night as she's exclusively breastfed. It feels as if we're surrounded by a family of amazing sleepers, and I can't help but feel discouraged. Is it normal for an exclusively breastfed 5 months to do this? Absolutely, yeah. And this relates to the last email in a way, doesn't it? Yeah, it's completely normal. Your baby is still so young, 5 months old, 2 to 3 times a night. I think for me and my standards of what I've been through is normal. And they're tiny at that age. I mean, my 2.5-year-old still wakes in the night. So please don't put yourself down. The more mums I speak to out and about, the more I realise that we all struggle with sleep in one way or another. And I feel like sometimes older relatives can forget. And they're like, oh, why they're not sleeping through yet? And it's like, well, they don't. They don't. All right, Sheila. Do people mean well? Probably. I don't think they're doing it to put you down. I think maybe they're saying it to be like, oh, well, how can we help? And can we give you some advice? And sleep's a touchy subject because everybody has different methods. And we've been through the whole, in previous episodes, haven't we? The whole sleep training. There's lots of different types of sleep training. And it doesn't sound like that's something that you're really thinking about. You're just being discouraged by people saying, is she sleeping through yet? Which I just think is a silly question to ask a mum of a 5-month-old, because you know the answer is probably no. And if it is yes, then it's almost miraculous, isn't it? And yes, some babies do sleep through from 3 or 4 months, and it's great for them parents. But I would say 80% don't, personally, and I've just pulled that figure out the air. And that's from talking to friends, to other mums at playgroup, to my mum. I've never felt that kind of pressure from relatives saying, why aren't they sleeping through? So don't let other people discourage you at all. You're exclusively breastfeeding as well, which can mean they wait more. So don't be hard on yourself and don't listen. Like I've said in previous episodes, cut the noise. People will make comments. People will ask things. I remember when I was breastfeeding till they were about 1, and people would say, oh, you're still breastfeeding. Oh, it must be getting you down. Oh, you must be tiring. And it's like, I'm fine. I'm absolutely fine. And I think these comments come from a good place, but it's like, well, leave me. Unless you want to make a positive comment rather than a question is the answer is probably going to be no, then just leave it. But certain people won't, and you're going to get it. You're going to get asked. So it's just how you handle it. And I think from my point of view, you're doing a brilliant job. It's completely normal that your 5-month-old wakes that often. Don't beat yourself up. Don't be discouraged. People will make comments over the Christmas period, and you will just have to put the virtual earplugs in and let it ride over your head, because it sounds to me like you're doing fine. I'm going to go here with screen time. And I'm just going to go there. Some of you who listen are brand new mums, and this may not even have entered your mind yet, the whole screen time debate. As a toddler mum, it's something that's spoken about quite a lot. Oh, screen time, this, screen time. And when you go on Instagram or TikTok, there's always a video about, oh, I've cut screen time out my daughter's life and she's an angel now and she doesn't have tantrums. And fair play. For long-time listeners, my opinion is everything in moderation. Do I need to clean? Yes. Whack a bit of Peppa Pig on. Do I need 5 minutes? Yes. Put Cinderella on. Do I think kids should sit in front of a screen all day? Absolutely not. But let's be honest, as mums, we all need 5 minutes. And I am completely fine with putting a film on in the afternoon if I need to. Or, when we've been out to the park, or my eldest has been to nursery, they've had a busy day. My youngest doesn't tend to nap in the day anymore. So instead, I'll put something on for an hour. And we'll all have a chill time in the afternoon. I'll have a cup of tea. I'll put my feet up for a minute. I think we all need that as mums, not just to use it when we have jobs to do around the house, but when we actually just need a bloody minute. So my opinion on screen time is used in moderation is completely fine. And I found this post in a forum with some answers that I thought might be interesting. So this says, hello, new mum here. I wanted to ask parents who have raised one child with no screen time at all and another with some screen exposure. So she's looking for basically two sides of the coin. One, if you give your kids screen time. Two, if you haven't given your kids screen time. She says, have you noticed any differences between the two approaches? While I'd love to avoid screens entirely, I can't realistically have the TV off all day. I really enjoy watching something while feeding my baby. Baby's 4 months old, and I notice she perks up when she hears Miss Rachel on TV. We usually have it on in the background while she's doing tummy time or independent floor time. Sincerely, a first-time mum. Okay, so I thought these answers were quite interesting. So this is from an ex-toddler teacher. And this person said, yes, I can see the difference. Some are more obvious than others. Some can be very obsessed with certain characters, others not so much. The children who have screen time tend to be quick learners. They also tend to be more impulsive and need instant gratification. Honestly, screen time is not going to dictate your child's temperament completely. And they say, personally, I've never had a problem using screen time as an aid. I'm a stay-at-home mum. Sometimes I need me time or have to tidy up, exactly what I've said. Or if I'm putting dinner on, again, yeah, you need it. She gets plenty of stimulation for her age and has various other outlets for that. Don't sit your child in front of TV and let babysit them, but don't let TV become a negative experience, which I think is a good advice. I think the character obsession, I think kids can have character obsessions without screen time personally. I know my girls have liked the odd character. I think like Snow White they've liked, but I know they've not seen Snow White yet. So I don't think that's completely dependent on screen time. But anyway, I like the answer. And then somebody else has said, I teach 2 and 3-year-olds and have 5 kids of my own. With my students, I don't see a difference between the ones with no screen time and those with limits. Now, I do have one who pretty clearly has unlimited screen time, and you can absolutely tell. At the beginning of the year, he would interact with supplies by swiping and tapping and couldn't understand why they wouldn't do anything. As for my own children, we limit it, but I can tell when they've hit their limit because I see their creativity and imagination drop, and their irritability will skyrocket, and then I'll declare a screen detox. I'm a firm believer in there's a time and place for screens. And when I limit screens, it makes them more effective when it's an appropriate time. Absolutely. I think, again, both of those answers, and I quite like them because they are from professionals that work with toddlers. So they see a variance. They see kids with no screen time, they see kids with limits, and they see kids with unlimited screen time. And I think when it's used as a babysitting tool all day, of course it's going to have negative impact. They're not having the socialization, they're not talking with people, they're not doing creative things. But if it's used in moderation, absolutely, I think we all need that break. We all need that minute. So yeah, let me know what you think though. It's always a touchy one, isn't it, Screen? It's like sleep. I mean, any topic we talk about as new mums, there's always a counter argument. And I think you have to remember that when you're making certain decisions. There'll always be someone who disagrees. Like when I put posts on TikTok, there'll always be someone who says, oh, well, this isn't right. Or, oh, no, you need to do this and you need to do that. And it can be quite overwhelming and exhausting as a new mum to know what's right and wrong. But if you go down the moderation route and you go with your gut, then I don't think you can go too far wrong. Next night is Social Media Says, and I came across a post about the model Suki Waterhouse, and she recently had a baby. And I've not actually seen recent pictures of her, so I wasn't really aware of this topic. But she was talking about postpartum weight gain. And she was actually really, really refreshing about it. Now, obviously, her profession is a model. And given that us women who aren't models, who are mums across the world, we, as particularly in the Western cultures, I think there's this snapback culture. You know, you need to snap back, you need to look great. And I've spoke about this on the podcast before, and I think the pressure that's put on women when you've just birthed a new life is too much. Women are praised for doing the school run on the day they give birth, and it's like, whoa, 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 that's too much. Women used to have 2 weeks of bed rest in hospital back in the day. We're told we can leave the same day. And I think there's this almost huge pressure to just bounce back and be yourself again, do your job again, go out, pick your kids up, clean the house. And it's we have just been through something so major. You know, when I've had my girls, I've never felt so close to death through pain and then new life. It's like the biggest roller coaster you'll probably ever go on. And there is a fear, there is a huge fear, and what your body goes through is phenomenal, isn't it? However you give birth. And yeah, I think it's so refreshing to see a model talk about not just baby weight gain, but postpartum weight gain. And she was interviewed, and basically she said something like, I'm shooting the cover of Vogue and I'm 25 pounds heavier than I normally am right now, but I'm also like, who gives a crap? It is what it is, and my boobs are fun. And I think it's really lovely to hear that she is being so open and so honest and setting such a good role, being such a good role model for new mums. But then you get the tabloids, you know, that are just picking on her postpartum body, apparently. I've not seen the articles, but, you know, a lot are running with headlines about how much weight she's gained as though it's the most interesting thing about her, when it completely counteracts this positive impact she's having on new mums as a model, saying, I don't care that I'm 25 pounds heavier. I know deep down when I had mine, I was very positive. I was very like, look at what your body's just done. Don't stand there in the mirror and beat yourself up. But not everybody can see it like that, and seeing the scales tip 25 pounds heavier might make some people think, right, well, back to the gym, you know, back to eating healthy. And I think when you're in postpartum, you're hunkering down with your baby, you can put weight on, you can. And I think we just all need to lay off ourselves a little bit and be a bit more Suki Waterhouse and say, do you know what? Who gives a crap? Maybe I'm a little bit heavier. And this is, you know, at a time when models, they are still so super thin, aren't they? If you see the Victoria's Secret catwalk, you know, they're wow. They're like a different species almost. And for somebody of her stature to say, I don't give a crap, I'm a mum, I think it's really refreshing. So I just thought I'd bring attention to that. And if it's something that you're thinking about, because I know we can all get down about it from time to time, and maybe after giving birth we don't feel ourselves as much, but I don't think anybody does completely straight away. You have to give yourself time and not feel so bad about things. My self-care suggestion tonight is do your Christmas shopping online. Oh, Jason took the girls on Sunday, and for the afternoon I sat, watched Titanic. I didn't watch all of it, but I watched, you know, the beginning. And I did my Christmas shopping, and it was bliss. I wasn't dashing around the Trafford Centre like I had this chicken with hour-long queues, traffic jams, general chaos. I feel like everyone's a bit more scatty on the roads at Christmas, and I just feel like everyone's loses the plot in this last week towards Christmas. So no, I had Jack and Rose and my laptop and chocolate, obviously. And yeah, I just enjoyed it. And I find when I shop online, I get exactly what I need rather than just picking up random things as I go. Sorry if that's the most obvious advice ever, but you put those feet up, kick back, and order online. Finally, to finish on a quote I wrote, I feel the warmth of your arms as you lift me from my bed. The world is still dark. You glance at the clock. It's 3:38 a.m. I've only been asleep for 30 minutes. I see the exhaustion in your eyes, even though I don't fully understand it yet. Your breath is heavy as you pull yourself out of bed. I know it's hard for you, but still you come to me. Mama's here, you whisper softly, and I feel safe. The rhythm of our rocking chair surrounds us, and your voice hums a melody that I'll remember in my dreams one day. I can't say the words, but I feel the love in every note. As I feed, your tears fall silently onto my cheek. I wish I could reach up to wipe them away, but my tiny hand just clings to yours instead. I know you're tired, more tired than you've ever been. I see it in the way your head tilts forward as your sleep tries to take you, but you fight it because of me. You think you're weak right now, Mama, but to me, you're the strongest person in the world. Each time you hold me, I grow. Every ounce of you, your love, you pour into me, even though your exhaustion is shaping me into who I'll become. Your eyes trace over me as I drift back to sleep. My little toes now stretch the edges of my romper, the same one that once hung off them. My cheeks are round and my fingers wrapped around yours are stronger than before. It's all because of you. I don't understand time yet, Mama, but I know these nights are fleeting. One day I won't cry out for you like this, and you'll sleep peacefully through the night. But you'll miss this too, the closeness, the way my heart beats against yours in the stillness. You're my whole world, Mama. I'll grow, but I'll always carry these moments with me, just like you will too. Thank you for listening, as always. I hope you've enjoyed tonight's episode, and keep your emails coming in. I absolutely love to hear from you, and I try and help as many people as I can. I think it's great that we all share and we're all open and raw about how we're feeling. And as a mum myself who's been there in those very early days, I think it's really important to know that you're not alone, no matter what you're thinking or feeling. And yeah, I wish you all a restful, peaceful night ahead. Good night.